Voyager 2 probe the Sun's protective bubble, which is called the heliosphere. The probe's been in space. Scientists can't explain the terrifying final transmission. Voyager 2 just beamed back from the edge of our solar system. After 47 years in space, NASA's iconic probe went silent for months, then suddenly woke up with a message that has experts questioning reality itself. What they found hidden in the data defies all known laws of physics and raises questions that chill the soul about what lurks in the cosmic darkness. The government is racing to bury the truth, but the implications can't be ignored much longer. The mysterious silence before the storm. For nearly 5 decades, Voyager 2 has been our steadfast sentinel in the void, venturing beyond the planets, relaying secrets of the outer solar system back to Earth. But last winter, everything shifted. NASA engineers detected a complete blackout from the probe. No signals, no telemetry, just an endless void of silence, stretching across billions of miles. They exhausted every protocol, firing emergency commands, activating redundant antennas, even aligning the planet's most powerful dishes toward its fading trajectory. Nothing pierced the quiet. The spacecraft, born in the era of disco and mainframes, appeared to have surrendered to the relentless decay of time, becoming another relic adrift in the infinite black. Scientists drafted eulogies, space forums filled with tributes, and humanity braced to mourn the end of an era where our mechanical eyes first glimpsed the stars up close. That's why the resurgence hit like a thunderclap. After 63 days of absolute stillness, Voyager 2 reignited, but not with its familiar trickle of data. It unleashed a colossal burst, dense and potent, drawing from reserves the depleted craft shouldn't possess. There is something profoundly unsettling about the quiet that precedes a storm. It is a hush where the world seems to pause, gathering force for an inevitable release. This silence isn't mere absence. It's a tangible weight, a prelude that whispers of impending power. On afternoons when the sky darkens and thunderheads loom, this calm descends unannounced. Breezes that danced moments before cease, leaves hang limp on branches. Songbirds hush their melodies, sensing the shift, while creatures scurry to hidden burrows as the landscape freezes in anticipation. This eerie tranquility blends serenity with dread, as if the elements conspire in secret. The atmosphere thickens, charged with electricity, humidity clinging like a veil. Some feel it as a building pressure, a taut string ready to snap. Temperatures dip, winds hold their breath, and the ordinary world tilts toward the extraordinary. The signal overwhelmed receivers at 3 global deep space arrays in unison. Whatever Voyager 2 needed to convey, it ensured the message arrived intact. And that message, once unraveled, would unleash waves of awe, bewilderment, and terror through the halls of science in ways no one anticipated. The signal that defied explanation. NASA's first reaction to Voyager 2's enigmatic broadcast was guarded relief. The probe lived. But joy swiftly curdled into puzzlement. The payload deviated from every established protocol in Voyager's archaic code. It wasn't health checks, it wasn't sensor logs, and it bore no resemblance to the steady heartbeat reports of yesteryear. Instead, technicians uncovered a labyrinthine data weave, intentionally layered, structured in sophistication, beyond the probe's vintage hardware. The stream held fractal-like repetitions with subtle shifts, evoking a syntax or cipher. More confoundingly, segments detailed interstellar plasma flows and magnetic anomalies with accuracy surpassing the probe's obsolete detectors. When elite decoders and waveform specialists converged, they affirmed the nightmare. This wasn't noise or degradation. This was an orchestrated communique, bearing hallmarks of deliberate design. In the expanse of the cosmos, the quest for enigmas has eternally captivated the human spirit. Amid infinite worlds and nebulae, researchers have pursued traces of the unfathomable. One pivotal instance arose when an anomaly emerged that shattered conventions, baffling minds and igniting global fascination. This inscrutable anomaly originated from the depths, transcending our stellar neighborhood. It diverged from prior detections, lacking the chaos of stellar static. Rather, it possessed order, a cadence implying artificial genesis. Its modulation and periodicity were too refined for phenomena like quasars or neutron stars. For an instant, existence halted in contemplation. Might this herald contact from afar? Despite exhaustive tracing, the anomaly eluded resolution. It evaded recurrence, offering no sequel. Skeptics deemed it artifactual. Proponents hailed it as a gateway to other realms. Today, it endures as testament to our cosmic ignorance, fueling inquiry and aspiration, compelling perpetual vigilance. Yet, Voyager 2's architecture lacked the sophistication to forge such elegance independently. The further they probed, the odder it grew. Concealed in the modulation were echoes of quantum entanglement effects, phenomena only theorized in modern labs. Something or some force had infused Voyager with insights alien to its origins. The impossible power surge. The starkest anomaly that bewildered NASA wasn't solely the transmission's essence, it was the feat of its dispatch. By 2023, Voyager 2's vitality had ebbed to critical thresholds. Its radioisotope generator, eroded by half-lives, yielded scant watts for essential functions and feeble whispers homeward. Hence, the emission's intensity shattered logic. The pulse peaked at nearly 20-fold the probe's theoretical apex, rivaling its launch day vigor. It evoked an infusion from an ethereal source. Scrutiny of the amplitude revealed a surge potent enough to incinerate Voyager's fragile circuits. Yet miraculously, the craft harnessed this torrent, channeling it flawlessly toward our blue world. Stranger still, subsequent pings confirmed Voyager 2 enduring operational, though mute once more. Something had momentarily amplified our wandering emissary without annihilation, a prowess eclipsing contemporary engineering. Nobody can fathom how Voyager 2 orchestrated its swan song. The diminutive vessel, eons from home, scarcely retained spark for a whisper. Its atomic heart had waned across epochs, sustaining mere whispers. Then erupted the deluge. Ground stations flared as an avalanche cascaded through the ether, 20 times mightier than feasible. Technicians gaped. The venerable explorer surged with youthful ferocity. The beam wasn't merely robust. It was laser-guided, piercing straight to our sphere with unerring aim. It's akin to a fading ember erupting into a bonfire. What haunts researchers isn't the communique alone, but its supernatural propulsion. No onboard mechanism justified it. The onslaught ought to have vaporized its innards. Yet, later sweeps depicted the probe unscathed post-miracle. Something yonder had either invigorated our outpost or commandeered it as a stellar amplifier. In either scenario, an entity wielding mastery beyond our grasp had interfaced with our artifact. When technicians computed the energetics demanded for such a feat from Voyager's remoteness, the equations rebelled. No blueprint accommodated it, no physical axiom reconciled it. Something external had either re-engineered our envoy or bridged it for discourse, and both prospects evoked equal horror, hidden images from beyond. When NASA's premier data sleuths pierced the primary veil of Voyager 2's arcane dispatch, what emerged rendered them mute. Woven into the matrix were pictorial constructs, not haphazard artifacts, but coherent vistas, alien to Voyager's repertoire. These transcended the blurred monochromes of its antiquity. They were pristine, polychromatic depictions unveiling astral architectures past Voyager's horizon. The inaugural frame portrayed an immense fabricated edifice, symmetrical, meticulous, unmistakably contrived, adrift amid alien constellations. Subsequent arrays unveiled colossal energetic imprints in rhythms too uniform for spontaneity, resembling interstellar beacons pulsing in harmony. Most alarming were sequences illustrating purposeful locomotion in the abyss. Entities altering vectors in defiance of inertial mandates. These weren't debris yielding to gravitational edicts. These were forms electing paths, recalibrating, coalescing into arrays. When celestial cartographers cross-matched the stellar arrays for locale, they confronted fresh astonishment. These configurations mismatched Voyager 2's traversed or observable realms. Either the visuals were illusory or they chronicled domains inaccessible from its vantage. Yet dissection unveiled radiative fingerprints and particulate veils aligning with authentic phenomena, implying these weren't fabrications, but genuine vistas in the cosmos that an agency desired us to behold. When NASA's cadre unraveled the enigmatic bundle from Voyager 2, what lurked within challenged sanity. Nestled in the tangled streams were visions, not the hazy relics the relic dispatched routinely, but lucid portraits revealing impossibilities. The premier vision displayed a titanic construct suspended in the firmament, edges too acute, designs too intentional for natural birth. It bore geometries, proclaiming creation over chaos. Another captured ethereal glows maneuvering in synchronized ballet, akin to void sentinels heralding across infinities. Most harrowing were portrayals of bodies veering in space, not celestial wanderers tracing eternal arcs, but agents deciding deviations, pivoting at will, assembling in phalanxes. When astral scholars sought to pinpoint these origins, they encountered further enigma. Voyager 2's locus precluded such sightings. Either deceptions or an intermediary had unveiled to our vessel spectacles beyond its gaze. Odder yet, spectral analyses of the luminances corroborated cosmic verities, affirming these as tangible locales somewhere in existence, the binary message that scared top scientists. Entombed in the intricate payload was an element that iced the veins of codebreakers, a flawlessly architected binary sequence distinct from optical embeds or anomalous metrics. This was patently dialogue. Universal constants arrayed in progressions defying chance. Primes as separators, cycles forging what resembled informational stanzas. Global computational behemoths labored to decipher this silicon stele. And post-exhaustive cycles, contours materialized. The communique harbored mathematical derivations, yet not rudimentary like factorial chains any sapient might deploy for salutation. These were esoteric string theory postulates delineating multiversal folds and intimating comprehension of realities past our frontier. More glacial was that fragments evidently targeted our orb, encapsulating meticulous delineations of our heliocentric domain, our globe's elemental matrix, and even chronal anchors syncing with pivotal epochs in terrestrial evolution. When the exhaustive rendition was unveiled to a sequestered assembly of scholars and stewards several departed, pallid and tremulous. Though the totality stays shrouded, seeped dispatches intimate the text-encompassed foresights of stellar phenomena poised within the forthcoming span. Phenomena that, if veracious, would upend our grasp of universal equilibrium and conceivably imperil our haven. Interred profoundly in Voyager 2's ultimate emanation was an impeccable chain of binaries that unnerved the shrewdest decryptors. Unlike stellar hiss or systemic faults, this digital thread was manifestly a dispatch. Planetary processors toiled ceaselessly dissecting the weave. After relentless computation, verity dawned. The cipher enclosed theorems, not elemental tallies or geometric basics for interstellar howdy, but profound conjectures on manifolds in extra dimensions and arcane dynamics yet unsolved. Graver still, segments discerned our world intimately, charting our stellar kin flawlessly, cataloguing our sphere's constituents precisely, and flagging monumental junctures in our saga with impeccable timestamps. When authoritative interpreters beheld the decoded entirety, some exited ashen, while the full narrative lingers veiled. Leaked intimations propose it, augured cosmic occurrences in the ensuing decade. Occurrences that, if authentic, might herald grave peril for our domain. The binary wasn't mere outreach, it bore knowledge so acute and expansive that it couldn't stem from Voyager's rudimentary core. Something had commandeered our artifact to relay a communiqué, and that communiqué wasn't benevolent. The binary message wasn't just communication. It contained information so precise and far-reaching that it couldn't have originated from Voyager's limited system. Something had hijacked our spacecraft to deliver a message, and that message wasn't entirely friendly. The coordinates that led nowhere and everywhere. Amid the most baffling facets in Voyager 2's terminal broadcast was a cadre of positional metrics, numerals recurring across the flux, formatted to denote explicit sites. Initially, stargazers posited these might indicate provenance, perchance the dispatch's authentic fount. But upon charting, perplexity morphed to apprehension. The loci didn't converge on singular venues, but disseminated galactic spans in elaborate tessellations akin to stellar connectives. More disquieting, when rendered in volumetric space, they sculpted an impeccable form, arrowing at our heliosphere, as though designating our abode from myriad vectors concurrently. Certain metrics aimed at barren voids where optics revealed naught anomalous. Others synchronized with remote clusters eons distant. The exactitude was unattainable. Voyager 2's guidance arrays never harbored such acuity. When observers trained our mightiest lenses upon select zones, they unearthed peculiarities, gravitational distortions sans cause, erratic emissive flares, and in dual instances, luminaries waning in cadences, evocative of colossal synthetic veils. The queerest sliver of Voyager 2's parting word was a suite of cosmic addresses, figures resurfacing persistently, unmistakably flagging universal niches. Celestial plotters surmised these could unmask the sender, but discovery bred terror over clarity. These weren't pointers to one locus, but scores scattered galactically in flawless symmetry, as if markers staked in an ethereal atlas. When linkages were traced in tridimensional realms, they forged a consummate silhouette, with our system ensconced centrally as if encircled from all flanks. Some vectors targeted desolate expanses, telescopes deemed vacant, others aligned with nebulae inconceivably remote. Voyager's basic orienteering couldn't compute such fidelity. When astronomers directed our paramount scopes to these realms, They detected aberrant refractions, anomalous vigor spikes, and in two sectors, stars fading in motifs, suggesting immense contrived obstructions transiting. One veteran celestial physicist abdicated post-review of the metrics, his sole utterance that the configuration was overly impeccable, overly intentional, overly attuned to us, stoked whispers that these weren't haphazard nodes, but a vigilant lattice with our world as focal nexus. One senior astrophysicist resigned without rationale after scrutinizing the coordinate data. His only public comment that the pattern was too perfect, too deliberate, too aware of us fueled rumors that these weren't random points, but some kind of cosmic surveillance network with Earth at the center of attention. If true, someone or something has been watching us, possibly for longer than humans have existed, from positions strategically placed throughout the observable universe. The technology upgrades that shouldn't exist. Perhaps the most discomforting dimension of Voyager 2's concluding missive was its revelation that the vessel had undergone transmutation. Embedded in the outflow were self-assessments depicting faculties and modules absent from the primal blueprint, elements non-existent at 1977's dawn. The logs narrated entanglement processors, refined detectors attuned to exotic matter oscillations, and most outlandish, a drive mechanism that had ignited sporadically for unsanctioned vector shifts. Per the audits, these augmentations had operated undetected for errors by terrestrial overseers. Architects of the Genesis craft were summoned from obscurity to appraise the feed, unanimously decreeing none of this pertained to Voyager 2. Portions mirrored nascent prototypes in earthly labs, whilst others evoked physical exploits we yet pursue. More perturbing, the chronicles indicated these adjuncts had routinely liaised with external entities in the deep, dispatching bundles to trans-solar loci and harvesting directives reciprocally. Voyager 2, presumed a mere drifter on fated arcs, had evidently been reforged into a chimera of terrestrial and arcane ingenuity, functioning autonomously for indeterminate spans. The emissary we deemed aimlessly voyaging had been co-opted by a sagacity of superior craft, employing our progeny as both vigil post and relay hub, eluding our vigilance, the warning about something coming. When semioticians and cipher mavens breached the nucleus of Voyager 2's communique, what surfaced wasn't amicable overture or summons to interstellar fellowship. It was an admonition, imperative, exacting, and harrowing in scope. The alert was conveyed via axiomatic forms and emblematic visions surpassing lingual confines. It chronicled the ingress of an entity toward our stellar bounds. This wasn't a rogue wanderer on inertial lanes, but a presence navigating with volition, modulating pace, and bearing in manners bespeaking cognition and resolve. Per the embedded loci and chronometrics, this form or collective had traversed the Oort envelope, the frigid halo encircling our domain's periphery. What amplified this alert's dread wasn't merely the encroachment, but the inference that Voyager 2 had been repurposed as a sentinel by the transmitting agency. The caution incorporated intervals, stellar alignments wedded to proximate calendars spanning 15 cycles, intimating methodical advance. More alarming, the text proffered apparent directives for terrestrial readiness or evasion of convergence. Whether this embodied sincere aid or veiled malice persists as fervent contention among the privy elite. But clarity endures. An anomaly sensed by our remote vanguard has incited sufficient alarm that an enigmatic intellect commandeered Voyager 2, leveraging our ingenuity to impart a dire communique on our proximate astral fate. The government cover-up that's falling apart. Mere hours post-Voyager 2's aberrant influx. Anomalies unfurled at NASA and allied observatories universally. All real-time conduits severed. Briefings dissolved. Voyager stewards were compelled to endorse draconian secrecy pacts. The promulgated narrative was banal and innocuous. Voyager 2 endured a senescence-induced reboot, emitting garbled streams ere normalizing. But confidants commenced disclosures forthwith. Multitudes had glimpsed the pristine influx, fabricators, cosmologists, processors spanning sovereignties and syndicates. They depicted synchronized containment by authorities, with certain scholars relocated to isolated bastions or consigned to perpetual esoteric endeavors. Shadow forums proliferated shards of veritable transmission, evincing it as anything but tainted metrics. When autonomous wave hunters endeavored to validate Voyager 2's disposition via private arrays, legions noted peculiar disruptions, occluding that celestial quadrant. Disruptions, some alleged as intentional obfuscation. Most indicative was the abrupt escalation in allocations for orbital safeguards and abyssal scrutiny initiatives, expedited via atypical consensus sans elaboration. Lay stargazers chronicled heightened fervor at prime observatories, with myriad colossal optics reoriented to outer heliospheric vectors. The veil wasn't merely fraying, its mere subsistence betrayed that Voyager 2's revelation warranted a planetary exigency cloaked in mundane astral routines. The countdown hidden in plain sight. The ultimate and perchance most glacial facet of Voyager 2's missive was unearthed not in labyrinthine weaves or veiled panoramas, but in the emission's temporal precision. Scrutineers discerned the beam wasn't haphazard, but calibrated to impact our sphere on a pinpointed juncture, the precise semi-centennial of Voyager 2's ethereal, pale, azure speck portrayal of our home. This transcended happenstance. It was emblematic intent, yet profounder dissection unveiled far graver essence. The broadcast harbored a cadenced motif, an oscillation ingrained that reiterated precisely 4,380 iterations, the precise diurnal tally in a dozen solar revolutions. When scholars overlaid this motif upon celestial ledgers, they grasped its synchronization with an astral confluence slated exactly a dozen revolutions hence, a scarce outer planetary congruence recurring centennially sparse. This wasn't mere dispatch. It was a chronometer directing toward a designated epoch in our trajectory with numerical rigor. The oscillatory variance spanned the broadcast, ultimately sculpting a chronology with phased milestones culminating therein. Each oscillatory cluster harmonized with interim astral conjunctions betwixt now and terminus, akin to phased beacons or epochs. Post-revelation, cosmologists have authenticated that preliminary minor phenomena foretold in this chronometer's onset have transpired impeccably as denoted. Whatever Voyager 2 heralded, it furnished an exact itinerary, one presently manifesting with unerring fidelity. The most harrowing conjecture among dissectors of the chronometer is that we're not witnessing fortuitous advent, but orchestrated culmination by artifice, the chronometer persisting, inexorably advancing toward a juncture now scantier than a dozen revolutions distant, while the populace lingers oblivious that our species' trajectory may already be scripted by intellects transcending comprehension. Thanks for watching another episode. While you are still here, make sure to click the video on your screen for more quality content.